Hello, my name is Patrick, and these are my top 10 favorite wonders in Civilization 5. For the wonder list, I'm going to talk about the wonder's yields and the feasibility of obtaining the wonder versus the AI. I may also talk about how it plugs into my personal playstyle. I won't mention the culture or great people points too much, as they appear in almost all the wonders and are rather minor. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Number 10. The Great Library. The yields are fairly decent. My favorite thing about the Great Library is the free tech, which I like to use on philosophy. I can build the National College immediately after the Great Library if I choose, and then settle cities afterwards and not worry about the National College timing. I really dislike having to build libraries in all of my newly planted cities with low population to get a reasonable timing on my National College. This strategy can bypass that, but is difficult to obtain versus AI. I need to rush it on one city, and the tech isn't a very high priority because it isn't a luxury improving tech. Just make sure that there's plenty of land around you to settle because you won't be able to claim your land for quite some time. Number 9. Chichen Itza. I like this wonder because it is one of the few happiness wonders, and the Golden Age length bonus synergizes well with the universal suffrage policy and freedom. I will often hold on to great artists until I unlock that policy, and it's even more convenient if I have this wonder too. Unfortunately, it's difficult to obtain versus AI, so I oftentimes have to do some conquest for this one. Number 8. Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. The bonus gold on stone makes for very appealing tiles in the right city. The instant gold generation per great person is much more consistent, however. I find myself expending 10 or more great people throughout the course of the game, so this adds great benefit to something that I'm going to be doing anyways. It is oftentimes uncontested by the AI until much later, so it is easy to obtain. The great merchant point on the wonder is actually a detriment in my eyes. Because the wonder is available so early, it means it'll probably generate a great merchant before I get access to a university or workshop. The great merchant, engineer, and scientist all share the same pool, in that if you generate a great merchant, it'll push back the timing of your next engineer or scientist. Number 7. The Forbidden Palace. This thing gives so much happiness. I usually find I get around 8 happiness after it's constructed, and more happiness to come as my cities grow. The extra votes in Congress may sound great, but the votes will probably just be used to not block my happiness from luxuries. I swear that's what the AI lives for in Congress. The votes will give me an upper hand in the diplomatic victory in the rare case that I choose to go for it. The happiness is the primary reason why I enjoy this wonder, and it's quite easy to obtain because it's unlocked by a cultural policy. Number 6. The Sistine Chapel. I enjoy filling out all the cultural policy trees. I also get satisfaction out of watching my cultural borders expand, and this wonder helps me do that. Plus 25% is a strong modifier, and it affects all cities. Unfortunately, I admit there aren't a lot of cheap buildings that give culture besides the monument and religious buildings like the pagoda, so the modifier usually only applies to a few points of culture. It's great if you can capture some cities that have great works or wonders of their own to help boost the cultural output. This wonder usually is uncontested until later on, so the consistency at which I can grab this wonder is partially why it made it to this spot on my list. Number 5. The Hanging Gardens. Food is the most important yield, and this wonder gives a whopping +6 food. It's like a super granary that costs no maintenance, or a super permanent caravan that spams food into the city. It has great synergy with the tradition tree because of the bonus growth, bonus happiness in the capital based on population, and free aqueducts to fully take advantage of the food. The free garden is great too, and will give a garden in the city regardless of whether it has access to fresh water or not, which is pretty cool. Most of the time I find my capital to be on fresh water anyways, but occasionally it is not, which makes this wonder even more appealing. This wonder is moderately obtainable because it is unlocked by the tradition cultural tree. Number 4. Notre Dame. I enjoy playing a wide empire game, but happiness is a harsh limitation when it comes to expanding. Notre Dame gives a whopping +10 happiness, allowing for more options for city settling, growth, and conquest. The faith generation can also help in that regard, because it can help me get pagodas or mosques quicker. Unfortunately, I find this wonder to be very difficult to build versus AI, but conquering the city that has it will easily make up for the happiness penalty. Number 3. Statue of Liberty. I almost always go freedom ideology because it helps with the science victory, and I also love the SimCity policies built into it. That said, this wonder is amazing at SimCity and synergizing cultural policies that I take, including secularism, universal suffrage, and the +1 food per specialist policy. I forget the name of it. Specialists will give food, production, science, happiness, and the yield of the slot itself. I also like that it can turn small island cities with a mediocre amount of good tiles into much stronger cities. Sea resources with the lighthouse can provide the food, and the specialists can provide everything else the city needs to make it a worthy addition to your empire. The free social policy is great as well, as it lets me finish up rationalism or put more points into freedom. The wonder is very easy to get, as my science has usually pulled ahead of the AI by this point. Additionally, the AI rarely ever goes for freedom, preferring order or autocracy in most games. I almost always grab this wonder without even burning a great engineer for it, although the instant build may be worth it to reap the benefits earlier. Number 2. Petra. I'm sure many of you familiar with Civ 5 have been waiting for this one. This wonder can turn desert lands into a productive powerhouse by adding food and production on tiles. This wonder has the highest potential for turning your city into an unstoppable monster of a city with the right terrain. However, it's fairly inconsistent aside from the free trade route and caravan it supplies. You need the right lands for it with a lot of desert hills, desert resources, and a reliable source of food like floodplain farms, sheep, or coastal resources. That said, it's incredibly strong with a decent amount of tiles. I wish I could build this wonder more, but the AI almost always beats me to it. Very disappointing when I see it go to an AI with a very weak Petra, like one desert hill and the rest floodplains or flat desert. Number 1. Temple of Artemis. My all-time favorite wonder. I can grab it in every game on one city, and I really enjoy the strategy. Ranged units, particularly the composite bowmen and crossbowmen, are my favorite units, so the bonus production towards them is greatly appreciated. This bonus to ranged only applies to the city with the wonder, which may be worth noting. The bigger part of the wonder is a +10% food. For those of you that don't know, this modifier takes place before your citizens eat the food, meaning it applies to total food, not excess food. This bonus applies to every city in your empire. Above 60 food, this wonder generates more food than the Hanging Gardens, but it'll take a while to kick in. It will happen though, especially when you consider it applies to all tile yields, food trade routes, and other factors like maritime city-states. The ranged unit production benefits me early game to fend off barbarians and rowdy neighbors, and the food helps my cities get to a very large population count, which will help me win the long game. So there you have it, my top 10 favorite wonders in Civ 5. What are your favorite wonders? And don't say Petra 10 times, I'm sure it crossed someone's mind. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Also, what did you like about my video, and what do you think I can do better? Feedback is greatly appreciated. This is my first video. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.